Gonna salute the shrine. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya, Namo Namah. Om Ahom. Where is Lloyd? Do you want to do announcements now? Yeah. Welcome, everyone. I'm really pleased to see so many people. It's quite nice, especially because the theme is quite deep, but it's also quite sort of light and quite social. So we will have a bit of an interactive evening. And welcome all those of you who are online. Lucky you being with us, exploring the 4 reminders. We'll start with the morning puja in the evening. But I don't think it matters. This is something, I don't know if you're aware, but there's this whole theme going on now for the Sangha nights, apart from next week, that we explore, like all the members were invited to share with the Sangha their current teachings and inspirations. So this is part of this theme. And we have like 2 weeks to explore something, 1 week of giving input and the second week of exploration through practice. I have 1 week, so we will put it all together in one, because Padmasambhava is next week, so I can't fight with him basically. But what we will do today is I don't know, how many of you heard of the 4 reminders? Yeah, few, but not many. And it's fine, because I prepared a sort of a session that is a very simplified version that I have practiced recently on my solitary retreat. It's not compiled by me, it's compiled by Vasantra, but it's a beautiful set of very simple and neat and profound reminders on the Buddhist take of the facts of life. So it states of how life really is, basically. You can't argue with it, basically. Yeah, and it's compiled in a form of a puja. Okay, puja is a Buddhist ritual. Those I think all of you know by now, or may have heard of. So puja is a Buddhist ritual that you can perform in order to inspire and move your heart. Yeah, so it's a reminder in itself, actually. So we will do that today. We'll start with it, and then we will explore a little bit more later on in a second bit. Okay? Who would like a copy of it, by the way? Can someone take it from me and pass it on to people who would like a copy? Take it home and see if you. I do recommend you using it in the morning. Your first, if you are used to meditation, use it as the first bit when you meditate. If you don't meditate, sit with yourself for 5 minutes and read it internally or externally, that puja, because it really has an effect. And those online, I think you already have it in the chat box. So I've been using this particular text for now, I think about 13 years, not daily, but like on and off. And I keep being re-inspired by those verses again and again. That's partly why I took it with me last month on a solitary retreat. And just using it daily for 3 weeks had a profound effect on my mind. It's sort of a given. If you read it, see for yourself, if you read it for, let's say, 7 days, 14 days, just as a 5-minute practice, you will see the effects on your mind, basically. Yeah. And if you don't, come and speak to me, because it is probably one of the most kind of like, I'm very confident basically in it. Yeah. So we will do it collectively now, And then I will ring a bell for the mindfulness of breathing practice, but I won't lead into it. So you can choose whether you want to stay with the reflections from the puja, or if you want to take on the mindfulness of breathing. Okay? Okay. Okay, so let's just make sure we sit in a comfortable way. Shoulders relaxed, and if you can align yourself so the lower body feels grounded and in touch with the earth. And what I mean by that is that it feels supported by the earth. It feels stable. So the lower part is the basis, is the foundation for the stability, for the inward stability. So you can take a deep breath straight into your lower belly. And then you will feel all your hip area, your legs, maybe even some sensations in your lower legs, giving the weight into that lower body. In a way, the body wants to align itself. You're just giving it permission to align itself. All you need to do is to open up to your experience. So aware of your breath. See if it's fast, if it's slow. Aware of your heart. Noticing the heartbeat. Noticing that aspect of alive body through your heart. Breathing into your chest. Opening that area of your chest. So you feel expansion, maybe lightness, maybe uprightness. Shoulders relaxed, fingers relaxed. Noticing how the throat is feeling at the moment. Is it open? Is it tight? Noticing the sensations around your face. Your eyes and your nose, around your mouth, your tongue, your throat. And noticing the back of your body, back of your head, your upper back, your lower back. Breathing into the whole of your body. Notice that the body wants to be noticed. Notice the qualities that arise within your experience when you are present to your own body, to your own moods, sensations. There is some area of discovering softness to whatever presents itself, whether it's good or bad, however we refer to it. We can say we open to some level of intimacy within ourselves. Noticing we're slowly stepping into a formal collective practice. So we may want to be aware of those around us, in a very subtle way, a very gentle aspect of gratitude for each of us supporting our practice, just by being. The 4 reminders puja. This human birth is precious.
This human birth is precious.
An opportunity to awaken.
An opportunity to awaken.
But this body is impermanent.
But this body is impermanent.
Ready or not,
Ready or not,
one day I shall die.
one day I shall die.
So this life I must know.
So this life I must know.
As the tiny splash of a raindrop.
As the tiny splash of a raindrop.
A thing of beauty that disappears.
A thing of beauty that disappears.
Even as it comes into being.
Even as it comes into being.
The karma I create.
The karma I create.
Shapes the course of my life.
Shapes the course of my life.
But however I act.
But however I act.
Life always has difficulties.
Life always has difficulties.
No one can control it all.
No one can control it all.
Only the Dharma
Only the Dharma
can free me and others
can free me and others
from suffering forever.
from suffering forever.
Therefore I recall
Therefore I recall
my heart's longing for freedom
my heart's longing for freedom
and resolve to make use
and resolve to make use
of every day and night
of every day and night
to realize it.
to realize it.
We chant refuges and precepts in unison. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddham saranam gacchami, Dharmam saranam gacchami, Sangham saranam gacchami, Dutyampi Buddham saranam gacchami, Dutyampi Dharmam saranam gacchami, Dutyampi Sangham saranam gacchami, Tatyampi Buddham saranam gacchami, Tatyampi Dharmam saranam gacchami, Tatyampi Sangham saranam gacchami, Panatipata Veramani Sikkhapadam Samadhiyami, Adinadana Veramani Sikkhapadam Samadhiyami, Kamesu Mechachara Veramani Sikkhapadam Samadhiyami, Musavada Veramani Sikkhapadam Samadhiyami, Suramerya Majja Hamadatana Veramani Sikkhapadam Samadhiyami, Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. With deeds of loving kindness, I purify my body. With open-handed generosity, I purify my body. With stillness, simplicity, and contentment, I purify my body. With truthful communication, I purify my speech. With mindfulness clear and radiant, I purify my mind. And the 4 Brahma Viharas. May all beings enjoy happiness.
May all beings enjoy happiness.
And the causes of happiness.
And the causes of happiness.
May they be free from suffering.
May they be free from suffering.
And the causes of suffering.
And the causes of suffering.
May they not be separated from the great happiness.
May they not be separated from the great happiness.
Devoid of suffering.
Devoid of suffering.
May they dwell in the great equanimity.
May they dwell in the great equanimity.
Free from craving, aversion, and delusion.
Free from craving, aversion, and delusion.
It's a period of a meditation, and we're aiming for the mindfulness of breathing. We slowly letting go of the practice and last couple of minutes for just sitting, just being with our experience. So not doing anything else, simply being. And coming into the tea break in your own time. Can you all see me, or shall I sit on a chair? Is it better to sit on a chair, or is it okay sitting like that? Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Thank you. Spotlight.
There you go.
Wow. Oh my God.
Calm down.
That feels slightly uncomfortable. It's like.
What about the fairy lights?
Hold on.
Yeah, that's fine. It's like reminds me of like silent disco or something, you know. Like. Okay, shall we start? Shall we start? My plan is to talk a little bit about those 4 reminders, since quite a few of us don't know much about it. And then we will talk a little bit about the underlying purpose of those reminders, which is motivation. And then we will unpack a little bit of at least one of those 4 reminders. And I have asked Olmer to help me out a bit, because he's really in a whole kind of groove of practicing the 4 reminders currently. So I've asked him to talk a little bit about this preciousness of human life. Okay. So let's start with what they are. So those who know the 4 reminders, you can sort of chip in as well with naming them. What are those 4? So the first one is
Precious opportunity.
Yeah. And by the way, those of you who are online, I know it's Wendy and Zoe and Brenda, Kemasiri and Kshantika, I think. If you want to add anything, please write on chat, and then maybe Dayajava will read it out loud as well. So we've got the preciousness of human life, and in this beautiful puja, we we recited it as this human birth is flickering. Quite, it's impermanent, but some sort of same thing. This human birth is precious, the opportunity to awaken. Yeah. So that's the first one. What's the second reminder? What's the second reminder? What? What? Impermanent body, yes. So the reality of death and impermanence, yeah? It sounds quite heavy on its own, but actually I spoke to Brodie on the break, and she described it quite nicely actually, because I will speak for you, don't worry, I'll not put this on the spot. Brodie was saying something about that this, it says in the text, but this body is impermanent, ready or not, one day I shall die. And it's sort of put in a context of this preciousness of human life, yeah? So it's not all about death, it's about acknowledging the life in itself, and it's precious because it's impermanent, yeah? Because we're acknowledging change, because we can't have life without change, yeah? If we, it's kind of like a weird one, because it's like a topic that we don't really want to fully enter, even if we think like we want to. Sort of because we don't want to accept that we will die, you know, it's always somewhere at the back of like, at some point later on we will die, but we don't really want to face it today. Yeah, today we're at the Sangha night. It's not the time for today, maybe another time. Yeah, so there is something about looking at it slightly lighter, because it's put in a context of this urgency of using this preciousness of this human life. Yeah, there is something about looking at the purpose of what this life is really about. Yeah. What is the third one? What is the third reminder? What does it say? Karma. Yeah. So we are reminded about the possibilities of karmic consequences, yeah, and the pitfalls and possibilities of karma. And then seeing that the actions that we make have consequences, yeah. So that's sort of a given, you know. We've learned through exploring ethics that you know, skillful actions lead to skillful and positive mind, and unskillful actions will lead to unskillful and negative mind. Yeah, in a snapshot. And the fourth one, the fourth reminder. It is the Dharma. It talks about the dukkha, the suffering. Okay, it talks about the defects of samsara, yeah, of the samsaric world. So in this one we reflect on suffering and that's the one. It's dukkha. So in this sort of reflection, we are able to find a level of motivation for deciding that I must change the way I see the world. Okay, it's on me, it's on you to take the responsibility for seeing, for looking at your own perception, how you perceive the world. Yeah. If yeah, you need to kind of take responsibility for that. So coming back to the reminders themselves, they are, if you want to find them in a specific kind of place within any teachings or a book, they were written by a teacher called Gampopa, and you can find them in a book called The Jewel Ornament of Liberation. It's quite of a dense book, but it's good. It's actually really good. On a free Buddhist audio, you can find some seminars on it, actually. So they are called the common preliminary practices. They're common preliminary practices because they are found in all Buddhist traditions. Yeah, you can find them everywhere in Buddhist traditions. So that's quite helpful to know, actually, that we have them everywhere in Buddhism. Preliminary, they are preliminary. I have a thing with the word preliminary. In my head, it means it doesn't matter, because I want to go to the more important stuff, right? How wrong I was. So preliminary means because we need to find, we need to get to know why and what for we practice, okay? So before we engage in a mind training, we need to really see for ourselves, find in ourselves the reason why we want to engage in it. And why do you think it is important? Who actually does that in this group? Who actually figures out for themselves why you choose to go on Brahma Viharas, retreat, or why you choose to study ethics? Like, I'm not one of those people, so don't worry. It's not like I'm not going to judge. But who actually checks the sort of the reason why we practice Buddhism? Are there any people who do that? Yeah, 2 people. So
I think what happens is that you start off with meditation, and then you start off with learning the sort of basics, and then you go almost come back to re-examine what the motivation is when you come across new teachings, also when you come across problems. And you hit a bit of a wall, and you have to then come back. Talk to myself. You come back to the basics.
So you go for teaching first and see if it works, and then you come back to it. Okay, that's one of the ways. So here Gampopa and other teachers also show you another way of looking at it, okay? Because actually the teaching is provided in the form of four reminders, but what it underlies is that before we engage in the mind training, we should look into the very ground, the bedrock of our practice, that is motivation, okay? Motivation, I checked the definition of it, because I was starting to kind of lose it a bit, like, what is motivation? Because I'm I'm very intuitive person, I'm a very hard person, so I don't really look at it in those areas, but it was very helpful actually to find out. So motivation is a reason or reasons for acting or behaving in a particular way, okay? It's quite simple. We do that like outside Buddhism. So we have a reason, then we act, yeah? We're thirsty, we have a drink. It's something of that. This is kind of more thorough, yeah? So why we want to be kind or ethical. So he says that if you have a strong motivation, if there is something in you that is a strongly motivated factor, then you may have difficulties on the path. Yeah, things can come up as they do. Things may come up against all sorts of things that you have to work with. But that very motivation, the core, if you know what it is, if you really if you really embrace the motivation, if you really embody it, that motivation will be your main drive through all those difficulties, yeah, through all those ups and downs in life. So that motivation will find a way in your core, will find a way through those difficulties, yeah. If you don't have the motivation to practice, what will happen then? So you get to know the teaching, but the motivation is not set. And then at the first signs of difficulties, yeah, let's say there's some, difficulty in the Sangha, or there is something going on internally in you, yeah, some emotional upheaval. So what will you do then? If there is no motivation for practice, you probably will think, I don't know, this practice, maybe later, I'm gonna just go to the pub or watch some telly, you'll go to your normal habitual patterns, yeah? if the motivation is not strong enough. You'll be driven by those circles of habitual patterns that have been there before you came across the Dharma. Yeah, and it's a very deeply rooted habitual pattern in us, because we probably develop it throughout decades of our lifetime. Yeah. So even when we practice, for the Dharma to protect us from all those negative mental states, we have to still keep up with finding out the ways to our motivation. And that's really crucial, actually. So they say that motivation is the main priority for Dharma practice. Yeah, quite a few of my teachers and their teachers say that this is the priority for Dharma practice. So in a way, those reminders, so they are in a form of puja, but actually we all have those reminders in our heads. It's not like we need to get to know more. Yeah, if you're here on a Sangha night, that means you know how to meditate. Yeah, you know the basics, you know the precepts. Yeah, you know probably some basic Buddhist teachings. Yeah, the Four Noble Truths, the Eightfold Path. You know some bits of it. Yeah. And Sangharakshita says that we don't need much, or like other teachers say, we don't need to keep, coming across more and more and more and more and more and more of new teachings. Yeah, we need one and focus on it. So if we know already all those bits of teachings, like ethics and meditation and Buddhist teachings, and probably much more, and they all say they lead us to the path of liberation. Yeah, each of them will say, if you do this, you'll be enlightened. Yeah. Then why are we not enlightened? What does that? Huh? Hey, I think you're right. So hold on here. So we aren't enlightened. We're not motivated, and I'm sort of like not really fully buying into it, because that kind of may mean anything. It's sort of, there's something about, we recite those. We just recited the Brahma Viharas, right? We just recited the precepts, and yet, probably a few hours later, there will be something unskillful in our minds. Yeah. There will be something not in your mind, fair enough. There will be some level of ignorance, or something happening. So that means we keep forgetting. Yeah, we keep forgetting those teachings. Tomorrow we will be saying something and it may be unskillful, yeah, or less sensitive. So we forget what we know. Yeah, we forget this knowledge. It's somehow stronger than us, actually. Why do we forget? Why do we forget about that? It's quite kind of straightforward. Conditioned behavior.
We don't engage the unconscious necessarily when we're meditating. We kind of let it sleep.
Yeah. So not all of us is behind it. Perhaps. Yeah. So Vesantra says we forget because we are not sufficiently motivated, believe it or not, to just keep remembering. Yeah, I reckon there is something about not all of us fully being behind it, not of our sort of fault or anything. It just takes time for all of us to be behind certain teaching. Yeah. So I think the Dharma in itself is all about those reminders. We keep meditating, we keep reciting verses, we keep kind of coming up similar teachings again and again and again from different angle. We keep exploring wisdom and compassion from different angle. Yeah. So in order to remember, to be in touch with the motivation, I wanted to explore a little bit about some aspects of motivation I don't normally do kind of things like that, you know, unpacking how do you get engaged with motivation. Vesantra gave this amazing talk on 4 reminders, and he brought in 3 aspects of what it means to be motivated. Okay, so we will have a look at briefly some of them. So the first one is motivation in terms of inspiration. Yeah. So you can think for yourself. We will go into groups in about 15 minutes. So there is this whole area of inspiration, whatever pulls you in. Yeah. So whether you find it in books or through talking to people, or even looking up to some teachers and seeing how they respond. Yeah. There's something that inspires your heart about those who are more experienced and may probably respond to things a bit with a clarity and with a sense of kindness. The next aspect of motivation is realizing that I don't have enough tools to deal with life's ups and downs. Yeah. So we may get in a bit of a pickle in life, and then you feel out of your depth, and then there may be that opening of realizing, oh, you know, I could have responded more skillfully. There may be some level of remorse. Yeah. So you realize that there may be different ways of responding to suffering rather than pushing away an aversion or ignorance. Yeah. So that can be a motivation in itself. It's not all bad when we're in trouble. Do you know what I mean? Like, you can actually see for yourself when you reflect that noticing your limitations can be an opening to exploring a bit more in depth of what can you do. You know, there will be always some solution to it. So the next one is awareness of self, other, and the world. Okay, that's the third aspect. So we start with self, with the self and inspiring our heart. Then we see that inspiration doesn't carry all the way through. Yeah, we bump into some difficulty and then we have to learn another way. Yeah, we're no longer on a good wave of life. So when we meet difficulty, we need something different. And then the third one, we open up from our ups and downs onto the world. Okay, that's the third motivation, which there's some question can be kind of like, how can I benefit the world? Let's say, yeah. There's this altruistic dimension. We call it the Bodhisattva path, but I wanted to bring to a very more like human level. Yeah, how can I contribute to this world? Yeah. The Trungpa Rinpoche, he's one of the teachers, not from this tradition. He once said about this very third aspect, that our first duty as human beings is to stop being a nuisance to the world. I love it. Our first duty as a human being is to stop being a nuisance to the world. That sort of puts you in a perspective, kind of not all about you and your world. So here we also kind of look at our motivation as how do we contribute to the collective rather than focus on ourselves. Okay. So let's go back to the 4 reminders and do you mind exploring the first one? Yeah? Whenever you're ready. I'm just looking at the time, it's like running really fast.
Oh my God, just go get some water.
Yeah, sure.
Can I? Sorry.
May I contribute to your well-being over?
Oh my God. Do I need to put this somewhere? Kind of funny. And the floor, maybe. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Oh my Lord! Why do you agree to do these things? Okay. I think I would like to start. It's a sort of personal sort of exploration. It's my own sort of personal take on these things, and sort of combined with a few sort of stories, I think. I think I'll start by saying that I feel very fortunate that I have met some very amazing people, but two people in particular that are very impressive and very big in my life. As it were. One of them was Bhante Sangha, the founder of this tradition, and the other one is my mom, a very impressive woman. And I was thinking a few moments ago, why do not talk about Bhante? So we would definitely develop a friendship, because I lived with him for 2 years, and I think that one of the main things is some sort of pride. It's interesting. I sort of feel like it's a bit too special to talk about, or something like that. It's weird, and the same with my mom. When I don't share things about my mom because I feel very sort of precious about it. Like, why is this person going to make of this thing? And I do have a bit of a funny story. When you do share things, you don't know what's going to happen. I was in Venezuela with Trirana in 2018, and I shared this story about Bhante, where if you had to meet with Bhante, if you were to meet with him, he had this quality that it will give you a lot of attention, but if you were to talk about yourself in a bragging way, it would just nothing. It would just be there like, what the fuck are you talking about, kind of thing. And it would be very awkward. It was this really awkward silence. And in a way, what that was about, this, which is connected with this theme. I think it was to do with like, okay, you want to go to know me, let's sort of drop the superficialities, let's just talk to me. So I was always very strong. And I shared this story in Venezuela to this really intense chap who was very inspired, very young. And so I shared that with him in the evening, and then the following morning we were having breakfast, and he was like this, sitting in front of me, just like this. And he will not blink, will not do anything. I was like, oh my God. And he was just really intense. I found it really intimidating. I was like, oh my God, why do I share things? So it's funny. But yeah, so again, going back to stuff with Bhante, one other thing that I also thought, coming to what you were saying about me sort of coming out or something, I also think it's worthwhile just sharing my experiences and things that are connected to this theme that are coming to my mind. At times he will be wheeled towards his graveyard, and I will be in the garden or sitting around, and I used to find that very, very strange. I will feel it in my bones to see this man facing his graveyard. I'm going to be buried there. And I'll be like, oh my God, that's crazy. So that was very, very powerful. And then this other thing was, being with him, it was just about, no nonsense sort of thing, like, this life is, let's do it. So having these experiences with him and my mom have definitely given me some flavor of witnessing people. I think that's what I wanted to talk about, witnessing some people that are very awake to life, and at the same time, at the end of the day, it's up to us what we do with that. And I think that's what I've been struggling with. So with my mom, let me just get some water. Yeah, my mom, unfortunately, from a really young age, suffered some injuries, and that led to some cancer as well. I don't know why. So since age like 6, she lost her sort of part of her face. She was quite scarred, and then that progressed as her life went on. And we live in a very interesting society where beauty is facial beauty, or appearance is very strong. So from a young age, she developed this strength, this stoicism, and this wisdom about life. And part of her mouth got smaller through the surgeries, and also some stuff inside her mouth. Anyway, so for her it was difficult to eat, generally speaking. And I'm telling this story because she used to love seeing me, watching me eating a mango. And I'm very lucky coming from Colombia. We have lots of fruit and mango to throw anywhere. And what you, as a kid, what you do with a mango, you just eat everything, the skin, the whole thing. You just eat the whole thing, and the pip you just suck it like there's no tomorrow. And only a couple of times, she said to me, I would love to be able to do that. Something around those lines. I would love to be able to do that. And that really stayed with me for my whole life. It was just, she saw a lot of the time the world through those eyes, like, oh my God, I will be able to be free of going outside and be fine, kind of thing. So I was exposed to that very strongly. And yeah, there are many stories I can tell you about her. And I think I'm saying this because she showed this preciousness of life from a young age. Otherwise, I think she would crumble. I would have. There's no way I would have lived the way she did. So there's that witnessing of that element of her life. Oh yeah, and this thing. I'm talking. What I'm gonna say now is very personal. So sometimes when we talk about the Dharma, I think sometimes it can be very harsh, but this is very personal. I personally think that it can be very easy to fall in life, to crumble down because of difficulties. And I have gone through depression myself, and it's sort of, you take it just too seriously, just take everything too seriously, and I just find that, yeah, a bit perplexing. How are we doing for time? 3 minutes. Give me, really? Oh my God, give me 5. Okay, so I'll move on into this element of which I like is I love nature, and this element of the first reminder, this first thing. Traditionally speaking, in Buddhism, we have this thing of comparing ourselves with the comparison of other realms, so the God realm or the animal realm and all of that. And yeah, being in nature is definitely a wake up for me constantly. Gosh, I go feel under pressure now. Blah 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 blah. Skip. Okay, I'll finish with this then, which I think is quite important. So one of the things I definitely think very strongly, and I have this period of grief since my mom died, and Bhante definitely, where I was very confused. And one of the things that have kept me practicing and not throwing the towel, as it were, is this element of understanding that if I don't deal with things now, my own stuff, I will have to deal with them next week or next year, in 10 years' time, or the next life, as it were. And that, I don't know if that's, maybe it's fear, maybe it's a degree of understanding of it, but that karma element is just very, very important for me. And I'm glad I sort of have a vague understanding of it. Otherwise, I think I'll be a mess. Yeah, I think that's everything really. Just yeah. I think I'll leave it there. The other things are irrelevant. Yeah. Enjoy.
I have an idea about but not about motivation actually. I recently watched this TED talk on I don't know if you know this guy called Johann Hari. He's sort of a new star around. He's quite good actually. He's 40 and he did a lot of research on anxiety and depression, which seems to be, you know, this era's kind of main disease actually. And he went through, like, he spent years on the research, and what he came up with, the best sort of solution for this disease and isolation, which is in a way motivation to practice. He came up with, it was through all sorts of different scientists. There was this way of arranging meetups, regular meetups with younger and older generation. Guess what? We do that here. You know, it's quite something actually that, you know, they came up with something we do already. And it was a meeting up with a group of teenagers and adults and talking about, I'll tell you the specific question. It was set regularly to talk about thinking about a moment in life that you have found a meaning and purpose. Yeah, thinking about a moment in life you have found a meaning and purpose. Yeah. That's quite of a good question. That's where motivation starts, actually. There's this whole, when this whole story about the Buddha sitting by the apple tree and finding pleasure, but that's like not for now. So let's stick to the question. Think about a moment in life you have found a meaning and purpose. So we will focus on that, and then there will be a follow-on question: how could I dedicate more of my life to pursuing those meanings and purposes? I will repeat the second question so you can forget that now. But the first one is, think about a moment in your life you have found a meaning and purpose. Yeah. See what emerges. You may not, see if it's a feeling or if it's a story or it's a memory. Yeah. So find 2 other people. Let's split into groups of 3. When you're ready. Well, this is us done for the evening. It's been lovely tapping into the atmosphere of those explorations. You've released a lot of lovely energies, which is quite nice. I hope it was useful for you to explore that very beginning of where it all starts, the motivation in more of a depth of how it sort of arises. And I hope the groups were quite useful for you to talk it out. Please take those questions with you. Please take the puja, the morning puja with you. Those questions, please use them with, other groups. They are not necessarily just connected with here in the Buddhist center. They do add something to your exploration of what life is about. So if you can't remember, please use them and turn them in your mind again and again. Yeah. Okay, thank you very much. And see you next week for a different realm, Padmasambhava madness.